Good evening, all the participants today. Welcome to the International Author Workshop. I am the technical host for this session, myself Nikita Pandit, editor IESRF. And now I give the podium to Dr. Anant Kaur, moderator of the session. Over to you, Dr. Kaur.
Yeah. Thank you, Nikita. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Anant here. I am working as an associate professor in Department of Pharmacology, AIIMS Nagpur. I welcome all for today's authors workshop. Before proceeding to the scientific session, I request Nikita to play a digital lighting ceremony video.
Okay, thank you. I'll start that. Arushi. Very.
भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति शांति शांति
Thank you, Nikita. I also request you to play the IESRF introductory video.
Sorry to interrupt. I can see the video.
It is not visible.
No, it's not visible.
It was not.
Only audible.
Okay. We'll play again then. Are you?
Not yet.
Still not visible?
No. You are visible right now on the screen.
Okay.
You have not shared the screen, perhaps.
Start the share option.
Actually, there is some
Technical
okay,
glitch.
we can play it later on. Dr. Anand sir, can you please move forward? We can play it and end.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you. Now I request President Dr. S.S. Jha to give his presidential remarks. Over to you, sir.
Right. So, very good evening to everybody. I must congratulate all the members of the organizing committee, especially our organizing chairperson, Dr. Amina Sultan, Dr. Binod Kumar, Dr. Savita Yograj, Dr. Lalit Gupta, Dr. Dhruvendra Pandey, Dr. Nikita Pandit, Dr. Ketki, Dr. Burak, and definitely Dr. Anant. Also, our host and the man behind the scenes supporting all our events, Mr. Rakesh Pandit. Friends, all of us are aware that we started a move, and after successful completion of the 2 editors and reviewers workshop, we are in the last lap of authors workshop. Well, friend, being an author, we can understand the predicament of a researcher author. Someone has rightly said that for a beginner, you don't have to be great to start, but for you have to start to be great. Friends, let me take you to the ancient Indian times when Adi Sankaracharya was there in 742 AD. So he wrote a text on Brahma Sutra, and it is the usual custom in Sanskrit literature that when you write a text, somebody analyzes it. So then 200 years later, a great saint and a pandit, though married, started writing a critical analysis of that ancient Brahma Sutra written by Sankaracharya. And it was much later that one evening when he was going to finish his text, the light, the earthen lamp went off. A lady came into the room, lighted the lamp, and then the person woke up almost and asked the lady, "Who are you?" And look at the dedication, what the lady said. Lady said, "I am your wife, and now we both are into elderly age, but I never disturbed you. I kept caring for you while you were busy writing, starting from your youth till this day." Then the saint felt very guilty and he said, "I'm so sorry, I could not make you a mother. But then the book that I have written, I will give this book a name after you. And so what is your name?" And then she said, "My name is Bhamati." And that Bhamati Tika became so famous. So that is the kind of dedication a researcher is likely to undergo. Friends, with these words, I dedicate this author's workshop to each author present, and only would like that every author gets stimulated to write, and write to the extent that it illuminates the world altogether. With these words, thank you very much. And I must once again thank everybody of the organizing committee for putting their best foot forward for the success of all these 3 workshops. Thank you. Thank you very much. Right?
Yeah, Dr. Anand Koch.
Yeah, thank you. So now we are moving towards the scientific session. Just you allow me to share my screen. I'll be introducing the today's speaker, and I request Dr. Abdul Waris sir and Dr. S.S. Jha sir to chair the session.
Yeah, we're ready, but video is not coming. I don't know. Maybe in my.
Well, I am not chairing this session. It will be Savita.
Dr. Savita ma'am.
Yes, Savita Yograj.
Yes.
Yes, can you see my screen?
Not
Yes.
yet.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see.
So good evening. I welcome all to this virtual authors workshop, which is organized by Innovative Publication. I thank organizers for providing this opportunity to moderate today's session. So as I said, I request both dignitaries to chair the session. And coming to the first speaker of the day, Dr. Burak Baldar. He received his dental degree and doctorate degree in pediatric dentistry from Cumhuriyet University, Turkey, where he has been teaching and practicing pediatric dentistry. And Dr. Baldar, he has authored many articles in peer-reviewed index journals and also serves as a reviewer, board member, editor to many national and international journals. He is the founder and editor-in-chief of the Contemporary Pediatric Dentistry Journal, which is indexed. And he was also the past president-in-chief of Cumhuriyet Dental Journal. And he was also president of International Congress of Contemporary Pediatric Dentistry. And for his work, the recognition what he was awarded is the rank. He was ranked among the top 2% scientists in the world by Stanford University in 2021. And he is also an active member of number of professional bodies, and these are his academic interests. So here I present Dr. Baldar to you. So now I'll hand over the podium to sir. You can go ahead with your presentation, sir.
Thank you, Doctor, for your kind invitation. Thank you very much. All right. Hi again, dear colleagues, dear friends from India. I would like to send my regards and greetings to all colleagues who are listening to me. Thank you very much for coming here. Today we're going to talk about the article submission process and other steps of and elements of a scientific research. Today we will try to understand the pathways from drafting article to submission process, and I will present some common errors and give some tips regarding the submission process. So when you plan to make a new scientific research, first of all, you should try to understand the basic requirements of a scientific research. A good scientific research, a good scientific study should be objective, verifying, ethical, systemic, and the findings of the study should be reliable and valid. These are very important to make a good study with an appropriate quality internationally. So what are the steps of a scientific research? First, you should define the research question and you should define the study topic. There are some questions which you should answer before beginning a study in the step of planning or study. Which topic you want to work on or what to learn new in this topic. What is the current problem? You should try to understand and you should try to answer these questions in the first step of designing a study. You should try to understand the scientific background and importance of the topic. You should first define the problem after a clear observation and a very good literature check. This is very important. What was done in previous studies? What are the missing points? What do you aim to make a new contribution over the existing studies in the dental literature? You should try to understand this and you should try to answer these questions to make a good study. So let me tell you about the literature check. How should we do the literature check? How should we try to understand the good papers in the literature? First of all, there are many databases and index services which which help us to understand a repeated journal, a good article. This is an easy way. Here are some lists of the databases and indexes service in health medicine and dentistry. The two of the most important databases and indexes service are Web of Science, Thomson Reuters, or Web of Knowledge. There are many names. And the other one is PubMed. It means that if a journal or if an article is indexed in these databases and indexes service, you can simply understand that this is a sign of a good journal or a good article. But this is very simple. There are many other concomitant issues which you should take into consideration. Other indexes service or databases are ScienceDirect, Scopus. These are reputed services. Google Scholar is very easy to make a literature check. So I strongly suggest, especially the young researchers who are not eminent in the academic community, I strongly advise the young researchers to use Google Scholar to make the first initial literature check. When you make a study design, first of all, you should define the problem, and then you should find a cornerstone article. A cornerstone article can be stated as the most important articles in the literature about that topic. These articles are especially review articles, maybe thematic or narrative. And these articles are generally highly cited and published in reputed journals. Another important point is how to understand a reputed journal. As I said in the previous slide, you should know what is abstracting and indexes. As I said, that there are many indexes service, and the most important and the most reputed one is Thomson Reuters Web of Science, Web of Knowledge. It has 4 subcomponents: Science Citation Index, Science Citation Index Expanded, and Social Science Citation Index, and Art and Humanities Citation Index. These indexes have the journals in these indexes service have impact factors, and due to impact factors, these journals are classified into 4 subcomponents: Quarter 1, Quarter 2, Quarter 3, and Quarter 4. And I strongly suggest you to submit your articles and try to publish your significant research in journals which are in Quarter 1 and Quarter 2. These are really reputed journals. Emergency Citation Index, I'm sure that you have seen this. These may be considered or defined as the early step of a journal to be indexed in Science Citation or Science Citation Index Expanded. But please remember that there are too many journals indexed in Emergency Citation Index, but it has no impact factor. Impact factor is simply calculation of the published articles and cited references in those published articles within the last 2 years. So it seems to be an objective criteria, but sometimes it has bias maybe in defining a journal. So let me tell you the other reputed indexes: PubMed, Medline, and Scopus. I want to give a simple tip to find the dental journals. Please see this link. This is the official categorization link for Scopus Index. You can find the subject areas, regions, countries, and years, and you can see the calculation points and the quarters of journals. But do not forget that this is the official classification of Scopus, not Web of Science. So, what is the most important step in designing a study? I think the most important one is the rationale, defining the rationale of the study. Rationale of the study is the basic of an introduction of a study. Please do not forget that the rationale is not simply the aim of the study. It's more complicated. So, how to define the rationale of a study? When you should try to understand the rationale of a study, you must answer some questions. You should say that, what's my aim to make this study? Which new information to give over the existing literature? What is the difference among existing studies? Is there any superiority regarding statistical tests? Does it take attention of editor-in-chiefs, reviewers, or readers of the journal? Is there any new suggestion, implication for new future studies? If you can clearly answer these questions in the step of designing a study, you have made the highly percent of a job. The rationale consists of implication, suggestion, appropriate methodology, originality, aim, problem, question, and hypothesis. As you can see, these are the main steps of an introduction. If we clearly define a rationale, you have already defined the introduction of your article. A simple trick and simple tip for young researchers, and ideally, the introduction consists of 3 or 4 paragraphs clearly, not too much. No need to give many additional clear knowledge about the subject. You should try to define the problem, what was done in previous studies, what did you see as a missing point, and what you aim to give. So let me give an example with my studies. Let's think that a researcher observing that some personal and familiar factors affect oral health-related quality of life in children and wants to plan a study to find out which of these factors affect oral health-related quality of life in children. What should the work plan be like, study plan be like? As you can see, the researcher has made an observation, and he has made the literature check and tried to define the factors, which factors affect oral health related quality of life. So let's try to understand the rationale. What should be my aim to make the study? Which new information to give? What is the difference among other existing studies? Is there any superiority? Does it take attention of editor, reviewer, or readers? And is there any new suggestion, implication for future studies? These questions are very important for editors. The editors are looking at this, looking at the answers of these questions in your article, and the reviewers are looking at these questions. This is my published article in the most reputed journal of pediatric dentistry, namely the International Journal of Pediatric Dentistry. It has been published in 2019, and this article was the highly cited article in the last year in International Journal of Pediatric Dentistry. So let's try to understand what I have done. As you can see in this paragraph, I have defined the problem. I have given a clear, not too long background of the problem, not the general knowledge. You should only focus on the problem. You should clearly present your observations, what was found in previous studies, what was missing in the studies. You should only define this in this introduction. Generally in the last paragraph of the introduction, you should clearly state the rationale of the study, a summary, as a summary sentence, the hypothesis of the study, and the aim of the study. These are very important. An editor and reviewer always looks at the final paragraph of the introduction, and we would like to see this. So, as I said that the findings should be reliable and valid. To make this, you should make a clear literature check and a clear and appropriate methodology. So what have I done in this study? You see that I have made a literature check with appropriate keywords in PubMed, Web of Knowledge, and Google Scholar. Then I have given reference to related previous articles. And then we have hypothesized a new model. We have taken the expert opinions, and we have designed the final model. These are very important steps for describing the reliability of the study of the findings. If these are missing, it is very hard to generalize the results, the findings, and present the reliability of the findings. So in this study, I have done an advanced statistical test, structural equation modeling, and path analysis. This gives a statistical priority. Do not forget that. I clear tip for you. No longer, no repeated journals accept the descriptive descriptive findings, even though they have very large sample size. It's not important. We do want to see the analytical findings, relational findings in these studies. You see that this is the final model, and you see that how clearly we have given the figure and the findings. This is a simple finding, but this gives a lot of information. So most of reputed journals want to see a clear description of implication of the study. What do you suggest for the future studies? What is the clinical significance of the studies? This is an example of the study published in International Journal of Pediatric Dentistry. You can see that we have 3 bullet points, and we have clearly described the importance of the study, implication of the study, and clinical significance of the study. As you can see, if you have an original topic, a clear problem definition, a good methodology, a good statistical test, a good implication, it's not very hard to get an exact by a reputed journal. The time from submission to acceptance was only 2 months in the study. Another example is a researcher observing that dentists' attitudes toward children are different. Some personal and family factors affect this perception, and the researcher wants the plan to find out which factors affect the dentist's perception of children. As you can see, there is a clear research question and a good observation. So what is the rationale? You should ask the same questions. What's my aim? Any new information and a difference among other studies? Is there any superiority? Is there any attention by editor-in-chief, reviewer, readers? And would you make any new suggestion or implication? So this article was published in another reputed journal of pediatric dentistry, in the Journal of Clinical Pediatric Dentistry. You see the title. I thought about this title, and I think it's very attractive. It takes positive comments from reviewers. When a reader wants to see this title, it takes the attention of him. You said that you should give a very simple description, sentences in abstract. You should be very understandable. I have mentioned that this is the first time, and I have performed advanced statistical analysis. There is a modeling, and we have made this study many clinical implication and suggestion. And please see that this is my fastest acceptance article. The submission from the acceptance was only 24 days. You should describe the findings very simple, as I told before. You see that when you look at this figure, you see that which parameters I would like to mention highlighted. You see that the table is very clear. There is no extra lines or other things. If you cannot explain it simply, I think you don't understand it well now, as Einstein said. A simple tip for you in the discussion: you should first describe in the first paragraph the originality. You should give the superiority of the studies in the first paragraph. Then you should go to the limitations of the study. I had let me show you how to make. Let me show you how to make. Let me show you how to make a publishment in a very reputed journal. The journal was Community Dentistry and Oral Epidemiology. I will show you the review process of this, of my accepted and published article in this highly reputed journal. You'll see that I have mentioned here that this is a Word file and Timeless Roman 11 and single space. Please note that the page design is single space. So now we are beginning with the reviewer 1. I did get major revision. You see comments, page 1, reviewer 1, page 2, in still reviewer 1, page 3, in still reviewer 1, and then reviewer 2 comes. In page 4, reviewer 2 comments. In page 5, reviewer 3 comes. And the second revision, I was thinking that I made good revision, and now see that the associated comments come in this round. And then reviewer 1 comments, reviewer 2 are still in making comments. And the third round, I thought that it would be nice, but this time extensive comments. I will show is animated PDF, very repeated extensive associated comments. Reviewer 1 and reviewer 2 have made positive comments. So let me show you the representative page of the review file annotated by the extensive. You say that he has made each punch mark, each sentence. This is the total page was 22, and each page was like this. This shows that how the editor-in-chiefs of reputed journals examine a submission. So you should be very clear. You should be very, very careful when submitting your articles to a reputed journal, because they are giving, the editors giving, reviewers giving highly attention on the studies. They are giving their time, their work, and they want to see, we want to see as an editor-in-chief, I want to see an careful submission design in the review file. If I cannot see that, I have negative attitudes to that paper. And this article was published in Community Dentistry and Oral Epidemiology in 2020. So I will tell you the pathways to submission and review process. You should follow the steps: appropriate journal selection, article format, technical and language appropriate. There are international accepted scientific writing rules. Please try to you should follow these rules. And the submission should be appropriate to journals, author guidelines, or specific technical format. You should give attention on references and table and figures. So now let's describe them. Journal selection, I have added 2 links here to find a possible journal which you can submit your article. You upload the abstract in this website, and they are giving some suggestions to you to submit your articles. When you drafted your article, I advise you to look at your references and see that most of your references, you should check this, and most of these references in which journal. It may be a good sign for you to understand which journals should take the attention of this submission. So another important tip is you should go to the journal websites and you should visit the scope page or about journal page or about vision mission page. You should try to understand that if these journals, whether these journals are interested in your study topic, you should try to understand, because each journal has specific scope and vision, or for example, some journals do not accept review articles or do not accept case reports. So you should try to understand that and know that this journal accepts which article types, which study topics. So you should go to that journal's website and you should try to understand it. So I will suggest you a book to understand how to write an international accepted scientific article, to understand the requirements of a scientific language. Here is a book by Dr. Gaster and Robert Day, a very good book. I strongly suggest to the young researchers to read this to understand the universally accepted scientific writing rules. So if your language is not, if your primary language is not English, I strongly advise you to send your manuscript to professional proofreading, to your repeated services, because it's very important. If the language is not clear and understandable, acceptable, even though the topic, the rationale, the methodology is appropriate, it cannot be accepted in a repeated journal. So, what is the appropriateness to international scientific rules? When you submit your article, you should add the submission files. The essentials are the cover letter. You should upload a cover letter to the directly. You should mention the editor-in-chief. You should write the title of your article, topic of your article. You should try to present the importance of your study, the implications of your study very simply and very shortly to the editor-in-chief in this cover letter. You should suggest the reviewer comments, the reviewer suggestions in this cover letter. It should be written in good English, in a polite style. Another essential file is title page. Title page is very important. It should include the research type, article title, the short title of the article, the author's names, the author's ORCID IDs, the author's affiliations, the corresponding author's address, email address, and if the journal wants additionally, like the word count or additional information, you should clearly state your acknowledged statement, declarations, conflict of interest. In each submission, you should declare your conflict of interest. This is very, very important. Some reputed journals, which are using Manuscript Center, they have a specific PDF file regarding this conflict of interest. If not, if the journal doesn't have, you should mention this in the title page. Your submission files should have appropriate titles like main document, tables, figures, table 1, appendix. There are many coming submissions to my journal, to the Contemporary Pediatric Dentistry, approximately 100 articles in a year. And I was the editor-in-chief of Cumhuriyet Dental Journal within the last 4 years. It was getting approximately 250 submissions in each year. So when I see the submission files named likely new reviews, participation one name, article similar, article Kuma, or another name, I have the negative attitudes in the first side to the submission. Each editor-in-chief do not like these submission files names. You should obey to the international scientific rules. You should go to the journal's websites. You should check journal author guidelines page. You should understand the journal's technical format. Do not forget that each journal has specific technical format: page design, font type, size, spaces, elements of a document. Each submission needs a specification for each journal. If you do not follow the journal's author guidelines and the submission doesn't fit to the author guidelines, it has very limited chance to be accepted in that journal. When you go to the website, you can see the page names like author guideline, instructions for authors, for submission, etc. You should go to the website and see that author guidelines page. References are very important. Each journal has a specific insight or bibliography citation type. It should be appropriate in according to the journal author guidelines. You may also look at the journal's archive or latest issues to check similar articles. If they are important articles, you should try to reference them. And if that references are accepted, more likely to be accepted, liked by the editor-in-chiefs. But don't forget that there are some cornerstone articles which I stated in the beginning of the presentation. Please do not forget to cite them in your articles. There are many tools for reference design, for reference style, changing reference style. I do use EndNote or Mendeley. These are very important. These are making things to be very easy for you. Please try to use these programs very effectively. Try to understand them. So tables and graphs are very important because you are presenting your findings in these articles. And when as editor-in-chief, when I first look at the page, I try to understand the tables, and they should be very clear, very simple, and very understandable. It's very important. And a very universal rule that figures should be at least 300 dpi. This is the main basic requirements of an figure policy. So let me show you an example. You say that in the right corner, right bottom, there are many vertical lines, horizontal lines, and see that how it seems very complicated. It is very hard to understand. And we look at the left top, no vertical lines, very limited horizontal lines, a very clear use of white space separate sections, landscape page setup when table is wide. A line is always used to delineate the end of the table. The indents used to show the subordinate categories. Extra information you should describe in the footnotes. You should align the numbers nicely. And when you look at the two tables, you can see that difference and the attentions of the readers or editor-in-chiefs. So please try to give attention for not using too much lines in your tables. So this was my presentation. Thank you very much. If you have further questions, I'm open for all questions. I will try to answer them. I would like to thank Professor Amine Sultan for her very kind invitation. We are working with her in my journal, in my congress. I would like to thank to her for her, again, kind invitation. I send my regards, greetings to all my colleagues, all my friends in India. I have too many friends from India.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Dr. Burak. There are two questions.
All right.
One, please elaborate the term quarter 1, 2, 3, 4 and its importance. You had mentioned quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, no? So what is it?
Yeah.
And its
These were the main categorization of the index journals in Web of Science. It is qualified into their impact factors. Each journal indexed in citation index or citation expanded, and when higher impact factor comes with journal, it's located in Q1 or Q2. So it's not essential, but these journals are really highly reputed journals, and it may be good. It may be nice to make a publication in this journal. Actually, you should focus on the scope of the journal rather than the quarter, but in many journals, all journals are aiming to be indexed in Web of Science to get a higher impact factor. It is now actually the most important objective tool for understanding the quality of a journal. So it's not essential to make a presentation in Q1 or Q2 or Q3, but they have higher impact factors, and they are more likely to be repeated among the other journals, as I comment simply.
Thank you, sir. The other question is, are there any international organization to prevent the increasing number of predatory journals? If not, why?
It's not possible to prevent to elaborating the predatory journals, because there are not any written rules or policies regarding this issue. I know that it is very critical, and young researchers are getting issues to find a non-predatory journal. Especially, there is not a clear organization. Some universities, some organizations try to make a list of the predatory journals and publish them in their website. But actually, this is not a searching list. You should try to go to website. You should go to that journal's website. You should see the archives, the published articles in those issues, and you should go to go and see the editorial board. As you have seen in my presentation, you saw that how the reviewers, how the editor-in-chiefs made comments. How hard was that? So you should try to understand the databases. It is very important. Generally, not always, but generally, the Web of Science or Scopus or PubMed do not accept predatory journals. Most of them are not. The reputed databases, reputed indexing service do not accept these journals because they have a very low evaluation process for those journals to be indexed in the services. So you should try to understand them, and you should go to website first, check the editorial board, then check the abstracting and indexes, and try to make your publications which are indexed in these reputed indexing services. I can suggest this.
Dr. Barak, this is Dr. Varis. Just 1 minute, one question I would like to ask you. First of all, I would like to congratulate you for a very customized presentation. See, for my feeling is that statistics is the Achilles heel of any researcher. It's my personal view. Okay. What do you suggest? Should we have some expert statistician? Because I always teach my students that stats is like an ornament on a bride. It brightens your presentation. And we are lacking in that aspect. What do you suggest? Should we get a professional, or any suggestion, some book, or how to adorn our article with good statistics?
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your question. Statistics is very comprehensive discipline. It's very hard my first language is Turkish, and when I make my presentation to my loyal colleagues in Turkish, I suggest books. I do have. But as I guess, there are many young researchers are watching this presentation. This webinar was created for that, as I understand. I strongly suggest them two things. First, if you want to be a good researcher, first, you should know English very well. This is very critical because now the English is the main language of science in literature. And the other one is statistics. For them, there are many internationally recognized books. There are many international websites. They should seek for professional help to learn statistics. I'm sure that there are too many respected names in India who can give these lectures or suggest books. Maybe if they mail me, if they send an email me, I can suggest them some international books as a reply. I did not put in the presentation, but if they contact me with an email, I can suggest some of international books regarding statistics.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah.
Thank you,
Now-
Dr. Burak sir. It's a great presentation of yours. And one more question we have in chat box, that what is your comment on indexing of journal and how to choose that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear. Can you repeat?
What is your comment on indexing of journal and how to choose?
Please correct me if I am wrong. Indexing of a journal, how to choose? Is this question from an editor?
Yes, yes,
Or-
yes. Yes, Dr.
Alright.
Burak. The question is like, what is your suggestion or input regarding the indexing of a journal? And as an author, how we can choose a journal? See, the author is unaware about the indexing. So how the indexing can help an author to choose a journal? I think the question meant, like my perception, the question meant that only.
All right. Thank you, Professor Sultan. As I mentioned in the presentation, there are two main reputed indexing services, Web of Science and PubMed. In general medicine, dentistry, health medicine, I can say that PubMed, Medline, and Web of Science are very highly reputed journals. When you go to the website of a journal, you should try to see this indexing service. A very simple comment: Web of Science, PubMed, Medline, Scopus are the three main reputed indexing services for dentistry, and then there are DOAJ or Index Copernicus. These are other internationally known, but not too much reputed indexing service. When I search for a journal, I'm going to the website and try to see to be indexed in PubMed. So why is this very important? Because when you publish an article, the main outcome of the article is to be highly cited. Every researcher wants it, because citation is one of the most objective criteria for an author's contribution to dental literature. If a journal published in PubMed, it means that more researchers will see the published article all around the world, and it will have more chance to be cited from other papers, from other articles. This is the main point.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Now there is a scarcity of time, so we can even have one more presentation. So can I request Dr. Abdul Waris, sir, editor in the Indian Journal of Clinical Ophthalmology and Clinical Experimental Ophthalmology, to felicitate Dr. Burak Gulta, sir. Thank you.
Block of appreciation.
It was an excellent talk, Dr. Barak, and we learned a lot of things. And you are so young, and I think you have a long way to go. My blessings and all good wishes for you. and hope we learn from you a lot. And if you can kindly leave your email so that we can interact with you, yeah, so that we can learn more from you. And from Innovative, I think would like to congratulate you and felicitate you. Please.
Yes, thank you all. Dr. Anand, sir. Dr. Anand Koch, sir, over to you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Once again, good evening. The second speaker for the day is Dr. Ketki Khalil Bokre. She is an oncopathologist by profession, and she is working as an associate professor at VYWS Dental College and Hospital, Amravati. She is an editor-in-chief of Journal of Oral Medicine, Oral Surgery and Oral Pathology and Oral Radiology. She is also a founder-director of Dentopath, Oral Histopathology and Research Center, and she has a specialty practice over last 6 years. And she is also a managing director of Neuron Institute of Applied Research, NIAR, which is a research company dealing with research in healthcare. She has pursued her diploma in medical and scientific writing and learned editing from InFocus RX, which is located in Bangalore. She has around 30 publications in national and international journals, and she has 2 copyright researches to her credit. And she has also authored 2 books on oral health and forensic odontology. For her contribution, she was awarded by IESRF as the most commendable editor-in-chief for the year 2020. She is also elected as a state brand ambassador for Asia Pacific Association of Dentistry for the year 2021 and 22. And she has been a keynote speaker of BITS World Cancer Congress, and she has, along with that, she has delivered lectures in countries including Spain, UAE and Malaysia. And for her research work on oral cancer, she got first prize at Asia Pacific Conference for the year 2021. Along with her academic work, she also has written and edited children fiction story and poetry books, The Goodie Bag, which has been rated 5-star on an online platform. So here I presented a multifaceted personality, Dr. Ketki Khalil, to go ahead with her presentation.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anand sir. That was really a kind, introduction of mine, and I have that huge responsibility to carry on the thorn after such a great eminent speaker which we had today. So I welcome all of you, all the professionals. I humbly welcome all of you, those who have chosen to be here today with all of us discussing certain aspects of research. So I'll just share my screen. Give me a minute.
Dr. Ketki?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Sorry for a while. I request Dr. Sabita Yograj ma'am, who is the editor Journal of Clinical Anatomy and Physiology, to chair her session. Sorry.
Thank you so much. It's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dr. Ketki. We are waiting for you.
That's fine. Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So is my screen visible to everyone?
Not yet. Yes, now visible.
It's visible now.
Yeah, is it visible? Thank you. So the topic that was like given to me, was encountering, reviewing and editing process from editors and reviewers point of view. Actually, this created a lot of interest in me, because authors usually find editors and reviewers as, those nagging mother-in-laws at home who, despite of whatever good work you submit to them, they just go on criticizing and trashing your work out. So because I have been writing and pursuing this profession, both in scientific as well as creative writing, I think I can really share some interesting point of views that editors and reviewers also have, so that, the authors and many budding editors, those who want to pursue this profession, will actually come to know what goes behind all the process. Okay. So I have just, divided my presentation in two parts, wherein first part will deal exclusively with what are the mindsets of an editor reviewer, what exactly goes on in their minds, how an author can approach them. And secondly, how can certain tips on which, based on which we can all, raise our acceptance rates when we publish in journals. So let us see. So this slide, actually, this is all what all authors, have the common opinion for their editors, that, they are the ones, those predators sitting on the chair of power, those who will just trash away their work, whatever they give it to them, or maybe take long time to review and give results, which kills the patience levels of all the authors. Okay. So let us start with, knowing what is the relevance of editor. Okay. Why is the editing considered to be so much important for journal or for books or for whatever scientific and non-scientific publishing means? Okay. So the relevance is that editors are primarily people, those who have their responsibility towards their audience or readers more than that to their authors. Okay. So it is their job, okay, that whatever content is being published in their own journals, they are accurate, understandable and clinically relevant to their audience and not to their clients, those who are the authors. Okay. So, because whatever, whatever research papers come to a journal, okay, they come out directly from the most complex organ in our body, which is the brain. And not all the journal papers are, suitable. They are at times very, very complex to understand, okay, very improperly written or maybe not genuine enough. So editors are the first and the foremost filters that actually filter out whatever content is brought to them. Okay. Now, for example, actually accidentally I stumbled upon these one or two sentences from BMJ, okay, which really has long sentences and they are not very clear to understand. I cannot even read it again and again. Okay, this is such a complex sentence. So let us take a simpler one. For example, this sentence, that it has been established that the curtailed treatment schedule may offer perceived social and medical advantages for patients, which with the additional benefit of it becoming more economical. Look at this sentence. By this sentence, what exactly the author means to say is simply that patients prefer the shorter treatment, which are also cheaper. So look at the, meaning of both these sentences. The first one being scarcely understandable to second one, which is direct and precise. Okay. So hence, this is what the editor does. Okay, that editor actually converts all the complex and merely understandable content to a more accurate, precise form, which will actually create an impact on readers as well as whatever target audiences are. Okay, so Richard Smith, who is a very famous editor, he has also being on the editor chair of BMJ. So he very accurately comprises the role of editor. He says that primary loyalty of editor is towards his readers. Secondly, the main job of an editor is transforming content from scarcely readable to attractive content. Okay, and thirdly, treating the journal like a cosmopolitan rather than just a brain. So apart from these two things, the third thing that actually editors do to its content is that it is the job of an editor that his journals have every content that suits every kind of audience. In this way, the journal will get more popularity. The articles would be more referred and cited by many people in the field. Okay, so it is just like, you know, journal is a product of an editor. And like if my property, for example, say a house, if I construct a house, I will put something more than just cement and bricks and slab. I'll make it more attractive. I'll put some carpet, some designs to make it more lucrative, attractive, so that more and more people should visit it. Similar is the case of a journal. Okay. So now exactly who are the editors? So this slide I want to actually devote to all the budding editors also, because then I also got invitation to become a part of editorial and reviewer board very early in my academic career. At that time, I used to not understand that actually what is the job of an editor? Who are editors? Peer reviewers, at least we have a, you know, hazy idea about them, that whatever content is being given to them, they have to actually fill that draft that a journal sends to them. The journal also send all the points on which the review comments has to be made. So that at least was a bit known, but what exactly the editors do? Okay. So I just love this line from, you know, Elements of Editing, which is by Arthur Plotnick. He's a very famous poet and writer. He said to all the authors that, you know, you write to communicate to the heart and minds of others what's burning inside you, and we edit to let fire through the smoke. Okay, that means that authors feel that whatever their research paper is, whatever their study is, it is the best thing in the world that is written. Okay, they try to say that ours is the study which has for the first time seen the results, and it is only going to impact the society in large ways, etc. But it is the job of an editor who can precisely, you know, put forward the author's emotions. Okay, who can actually make it more subtle and more accurate for the readers. Okay, so key insight on editing and proofreading is that when converting the piece of, you know, literature that you have come up with in front of editors, so from there to the final copy of your research work that gets published in the journal, the editor's role is always to help clients or the authors here express themselves in the way that their audience will actually understand. Okay. So more formally, we can say that an editor is essentially responsible for what appears in his or her journal. Hence, you know, you are in charge whenever you are sitting on that power chair of editor-in-chief or editor, you know, you are in charge of whatever information your journal is giving. And with great power comes great responsibility too. Hence, whenever anyone gets an invitation to become an editor or reviewer for that journal, make it sure that you get a written file suggesting that what are your roles and responsibility towards that journal. Okay. So precisely the responsibilities that every journal actually has for its editor is more or less the same. For example, the first and the foremost responsibility of an editor is to give decision on the manuscript. Okay. So whatever are the peer reviewers, whosoever are the board members, etc. But it is the prime responsibility of an editor to choose which manuscript will go into which issue. Okay. So second one is the publication ethics. Right now we had the issue of, you know, many predatory journals, etc. So again, it is the editor's job to actually see what all ethical things are going on, what are the publication ethics he want to apply for his publication and issues. Thirdly, approving of special issues. Now is the time, you know, wherein suddenly thematic issues are getting a lot of attention, especially in COVID and post-COVID areas. We saw that so many of the, you know, even specialty journals had come up with COVID thematic issues. So thematic issues have got huge relevance, especially with the current healthcare scenarios wherein hot topics in the field are to be highlighted. So nowadays, you know, editors are asked to propose many thematic issues. Then providing feedback, that's very important. Ultimately, the conversation between authors and the journal is the editor. So whatever feedback editor receives from peer reviewers, etc., the editor has to communicate those feedbacks to the authors and authors' comments to the reviewers. Promoting the journal, this is also a very, very important task that the editors are supposed to do, because nowadays things have evolved a lot in publication also. The journal has to get popular, it has to get more and more readability, more and more citations, to increase the impact factor of the journal, to increase the matrices. So that is why promotion of the journal, making it more visible, attracting more audiences to it, is also editor's job. And then, of course, appointing editors. This is a very, it doesn't sound that simple as it is written, because you are only good as your team is, okay? So appointing a good team of editors is also a task, and editor-in-chief has to look into the matter. So thereby one can say that editors and peer reviewers are free guides for the authors, okay? So authors, instead of thinking that editors and reviewers are very critical people and they are there to actually snatch away all the work that you have done, basically one should feel that once your work is done from your side, you're getting subject experts from the field to actually go through and guide you all to refine your research. So just say, for example, one editor and 3 reviewers. So one article actually gets attention of 4 subject experts, and those guidelines will help you not only in the current research, but the researches that you would be writing in future. So actually they are your allies, I can say, okay. So this is the roadmap of the process. As we all know, that after submission of manuscripts, initial screening is done at the editorial office itself. Some manuscripts are given immediate rejection before sending it to review. Some, those who pass the first filter, they are sent for the peer review thing. Then after the reviewer comments, etc., then journal editors and board decides whether to publish it or not, and then the information is being conveyed to the authors. So what is in the mind of editors, especially at the initial screening? We all know that, these days the trend towards scientific publishing has changed a lot. Not hundreds, but millions of manuscripts are being submitted to journals every year, okay? So given this large volume of manuscripts and research work that is being sent to various journals, it has become the application of filters have become mandatory. Not everything can be published. Hence, there is a lot of meticulous scrutiny that goes at the first stop itself, okay? Because editors also don't want to bombard the reviewers with unnecessary work. So what they do is, at their level only, the scrutiny performed is, of much better level than before, so that only the worthy thing goes forward, and it will not waste the time of reviewers. So this diagram I just love, okay, this image I just love, wherein there is octopus with 8 hands doing something, because this is how the editorial scene is these days. Editors get hundreds of manuscripts per issue, especially of those journals who are highly indexed and without any article processing charges. So those journals take a lot of time in peer reviewing, etc., because hundreds of manuscripts are being submitted to the editors of that journal. And editors are also like any other person. They cannot screen all the articles, they cannot read each and every content of every article. So the smart tip at this moment is that if you really want to pass this first filter and want your article to go to peer reviewers, the first and the foremost thing that that author can do is draft a very good cover letter, okay? It is a human psychology that when you are writing a documentation to a particular person, because as even Burak sir told, that you have to address cover letter to editor-in-chief. So whenever you are writing a letter to an editor-in-chief, editor-in-chief will definitely look at the cover letter before going and looking at your manuscript. So if it is very well drafted, if you have written good, kind words about the journal, about about its issues, okay, its prestige points, etc., it will catch the attention of the editor. And then you highlight that how the study that you are submitting to the editor will have an impact on the target audience of the journal. how important are your findings, okay? How is it going to benefit the society as well as the scope of the journal? So if this type of cover letter is being drafted to the editor-in-chief, the chances are that editor will at least give a look and consideration to the manuscript that is being published, okay? That is being submitted. So after the cover letter, the editor will go through the abstract. Like if you are, supposed to write a review article, if authors are supposed to write a review article, how do we screen the articles? We just go through title and abstract. And if you find it relevant, you keep it in the box and then you go through it, okay? So similarly, at initial screening, editors also do the same thing. They go through the cover letter, they understand the background of the study, is the title attractive enough to catch attention, etc. And then probably they will, give it a better consideration. So these are certain points that the editor will look at immediately when you submit an article. For example, does your manuscript actually fits into the scope of the journal? This is the most important point, because as I told you, every editor wants that his audience should refer to the articles of the journal. So if you are submitting an article, say example, molecular pathways of cancer genetics, to a dermatology journal, which actually deals with more clinical cases and cosmetic cases, so your article will get outright rejected. There is no second thought about it, because the audience of that particular journal will not be interested, okay? Moreover, when the journal goes for inspection of indexation, even the indexing agencies also see to it that what is the content that is being published into the journal. Every article cannot be published. The journal editors also have to show some rejection rate based upon out of scope, etc. So these are certain traits which the editors have to follow when they are, showing publication metrics, etc. Secondly, is the manuscript of minimum acceptable quality? Because as I told you, in my future slides, we would be, seeing that peer reviewers are very, very hard to find people these days, okay? So the editor himself will look into the matter that whatever manuscript he is sending for further review matches, some quality of the, content. And thirdly, I think that completeness of manuscript is extremely important. If you leave some table unnamed or some figure without legend, so outright your manuscript will be rejected because it will be treated as incomplete submission, okay? We don't take so much seriously all these factors, that one legend, one number, figure, how it will make a difference, but it actually makes a difference when it goes onto the table of an editor. And then, of course, plagiarism, that we all know that journals these days show zero tolerance to plagiarism, and plagiarism check softwares are there readily available these days. So it hardly takes any time to actually reject on the basis of, a lot of plagiarism in the text. So these are certain most common reasons for immediate rejections. And immediate rejections, especially for the high impact factor journal, it is suggested that journals such as Science, Lancet, Nature, etc., they reject about 70% of the articles at immediate basis. No, they are not even sent for the peer review. And even PLOS, etc., they also reject around 30% of the articles. So why is this? Why is this immediate rejection taking place? So as I told you, most common reason is not matching the scope of the journal. Secondly, the journal objectives are not being met through the article, okay? Novelty is of course the thing, because everyone wants that, although your manuscript is well written, etc., but it should be unique, okay? Everyone wants fresh news. Journalism has become like that. Nobody wants to publish which is already known or a stale news. Everyone wants something, fresh to publish. Fraud, that is plagiarism, which I have already spoken about, and missing parts, that hence this will reflect that your manuscript is incomplete or complete. Coming to peer review, as we all know that once this initial step is being cleared by the article, it is sent for the peer review. And the peer review systems, we all are well versed, that is either it can be single blind, double blind, or open peer review. Wherein the anonymity of the reviewers is not being hidden. So these are kind of peer review things. So what goes behind the screen? okay, what happened to a scientific manuscript after it passes from an editor to the peer reviewer? Because whenever authors track the status of their manuscript, it either shows under process or either shows reviewers are assigned or under peer review. So what exactly is going on in this period? Let us see that once an editor in chief decides that this particular research work, it matches the journal standards, so let us further send it for peer reviewer. So he will first call peer reviewers on board. Okay, so minimum of 2 reviewers are assigned a particular manuscript. The peer reviewers number can extend up to 6, minimum 2 to 6. They are chosen for peer reviewing. This process also requires time, because peer reviewers are not any Tom, Dick and Harrys. Okay, these people are subject experts, and these are chosen on the basis of the reviews that they have already given, on the quality of the reviews and their subject knowledge. Then how are they selected? So it is a task for the editorial office to select peer reviewers. They have to go through and screen the profiles of various reviewers through their ORCID accounts, their Google Scholar accounts, etc. Or editor-in-chief has to be very vigilant, regarding his colleagues or people he meet in the conferences, etc. Those who can help him in bringing out peer review for his journal. And the third option is, nowadays authors are only being asked to give, suggest peer reviews for his or her article. So many times when you people, as authors, when you are submitting a manuscript to a particular journal, you are asked that recommend reviewers. So that time, the journal is actually asking the authors regarding his subject experts, and hence the journal can build a good pool of peer reviewers. Then comes, why so much of delay then? Okay, so much of delay is because, editor-in-chief drafts an email to a peer reviewer that he is being assigned a manuscript and he has to submit his peer review within 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, this is a common timeline which I searched for all the journals. So this one is the common timeline, that is 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, so now the ball is in reviewer's court, whether he is already busy, whether he declines to review, whether he accepts to review. But even if a peer reviewer accepts to review the manuscript, it is a common observation from all the editorial offices of publications that they take longer than 3 to 4 weeks. Okay, then what happens is that regular chase mails are to be sent to reviewers, reminding them of the deadline, etc. Because reviewers are also like any other academician and clinician who are already busy with their prior commitments. Okay, they also have to handle other posts, and reviewing is just a part of it. There are no monetary gains that are attached to peer reviewing. So then it takes longer time. Now, in case you are the lucky one who gets his peer review report early, okay, and the reviewers have sent a feedback also. But now, if there is conflicting feedback, which often happens with journals, that one peer reviewer finds the manuscript good and the other just doesn't find it accurate, then a third umpire opinion has to be taken by the editor-in-chief. So he has to again go search for a third umpire or a third reviewer who will give, who will actually give him the review report, so that he can come up to a certain conclusion. Apart from this, certain studies also require some biostatistician as reviewers to go for their detailed statistics plan, etc. So those people also need to have, much of the desired time. So what is reviewers' perspective? And reviewers were interviewed regarding why so much of delay, is there in the reviewing process, or why so much of time is required. So as I already told you all that, they are unlike us. They are also handling many things together. They are also surgeons. They are also clinicians who are managing many things. So it is observed that after about 5 to 6 declinations, one person accepts and one person actually reviews the manuscript. So now things are changing slowly in peer reviewing system, because now Publons have come into picture, now people are giving reviewer awards, and then even ISRF has wonderful things for reviewers these days. So now slowly we can accept, we can expect the shift in the scenario. Final decision on peer reviewing, as we all know, we are all well versed in it, that it can be either of the 5 things. Okay, that is accept without any changes, accept with minor revisions, accept after major revisions, revise and resubmit, that is conditional rejection, and reject the paper. So the best thing authors can actually, expect from the reviewing is accept with minor revisions, because this is a very dreamy state. Okay. I think only 2 to 3% people, like our previous speaker, must have got this, within 1 or 2 months. But most of the authors, the best thing that they can get is accept with minor revision. After the reviewer's opinion, there is something known as, if even the editor wants still to publish that research, he can give a conditional rejection. That we will see that in the further slides, that after if the author does all these revisions, he can again go through the portal, again submit his manuscript. He will again be going through another set of peer reviewing to get acceptance for his work. So once the first revision of the reviewers comes, so how to decode the comments after the first revision? Okay, what does exactly what reviewers want, when they are saying something? Like, first, the reviewer was wrong and your answer was correct. So it happens that during revision, a reviewer just say that your hypothesis is not strong or your results are not, proper. So that doesn't mean that reviewer is wrong, okay? Because reviewer doesn't know you. We are mostly following the double-blind peer review, okay? So the reviewer doesn't know you. He doesn't have any personal bias. So what happens, what might be the reason for his comment is, maybe you are right, but your manuscript is not conveying the message clear enough. Okay, because if the reviewers, being the expert in that field, if they are not understanding what your results and hypothesis is all about, certainly your audiences are not going to understand. So maybe you have to reformat your conclusions, your hypothesis in a way the reviewer was correct and your answer was wrong. So in a revision, if you find that what reviewer is saying is correct and I have not revised the manuscript properly, so that means that maybe you are too much in a hurry for publication and you are not giving proper emphasis on what actually the reviewers are suggesting. Okay, so at that time, sorry, am I audible to all?
Yes, ma'am, you are very
Yes,
much
you are.
audible.
Sorry. Then, hence, what the author can do is spend some time on the audience, on the reviewers' reactions, and then refine your work accordingly. Thirdly, the reviewer was correct, and what he wants is borderline impossible. This also is encountered many times. Even I have personally encountered this, that reviewers are just into showing off their knowledge at times, and whatever they are saying is not feasible in the scenario that we are performing research on. So just try and think on that revision. Try whether can things be mended in the way the reviewer wants. Okay, if possible, make certain changes, and if not possible, in your author's comment section, you can politely explain the reviewers regarding difficulties in performing the revision that they have suggested. And also convincingly put forth your points that the present study is sufficient in what terms. Okay. Then if your paper has important results, and if reviewers are saying that the findings that you have put are important, then in your section it is mandatory for you all to actually say that this is not a foolproof study, though further studies are needed. Okay. If there is no significant result and if you're convinced with the reviewer's revision, then of course you have nothing to do more. Just try to improvise certain relevant factors in your study and then resubmit it to certain other journals. And if finally your reviewer is of those types who rejects everything, okay, we do get such people, many times in our lives also, wherein whatever work you do, how much sweat you put in for your work, they will never appreciate it and they are just going to throw it off. So during at such points, what we do is we just ignore and move on. So likewise, just withdraw the manuscript from the said journal and move ahead with other journals. Okay. Now, after the first revision is made, now what is the anticipated waiting period? So rest assured that the waiting period for second revision is not as much as the first revision, okay? Because mostly, your manuscript will be sent to the same reviewers to whom, who have sent you the revision. But, at times the scenario can change. Like at times, editors maybe they want some fresh perspective on your work. Maybe they are not too convinced with the revision that peer reviewers have sent. So they will want, a fresh perspective on the entire thing. Then your manuscript will be maybe sent to another set of reviewers, or maybe just your previous reviewers are not available. This actually happens during this time, November, December time, wherein mostly there are Christmas holidays internationally. So during such times, you have to again revise the editors and the reviewers, and this will again take longer. So now comes what are the reasons for rejection after review process. We have seen reasons for rejection which are immediate, okay, before sending to review. After review process, the most common rejection still is wrong paper, wrong journal. Okay, because at times, as I told you, editors are not expert in everything that the journal publishes. Okay, there are many super specialty fields that the editors are not that much well aware of. So what will happen is, maybe some work they will find interesting and they will just send it to the peer review, and the reviewers then, who are the subject experts, they will reject it because it is not suitable for the journal. So one has to be meticulous in reading the guidelines of journal, that what exactly the journal publishes. Secondly, mismatch of the quality. Don't aim too high. We all know our research work, basically. Like every parent knows how their child is. Okay. So similarly, we are the one who give birth to that research. So we know how much is the potential of that research. So if you think that your research, is not of first cadre, don't aim for Lancet, Science and Nature, okay, for that. It will waste your time, the editor's time, and if gone to peer reviewers, their time also, okay. So try to match the journal quality with the quality of the paper that is there. Journals backlog increasing rejection. So this is, especially true for high index journal, those who are free, as I have told you, because they get millions and millions of manuscripts. So what happened that maybe the journal is so much worked up that they are not entertaining any new work. So that the problem doesn't lie with you or your research. The problem just lies with that the journal is overworked up. So at that point, the authors are just unlucky, okay? Too many articles on the same topic. So this is also a part of luck, maybe, that maybe your topic is novel by your perspective or in the region where you are staying, etc. But maybe the journal has published much work on that same topic. So how to avoid it? Maybe if you have a dream journal or a target journal in mind, scroll through its issues, see what work has already been published in those journals, and if it is, seen similar to yours, don't go for it, okay? Badly written, this already we have discussed in our first lecture for the evening, that nothing will compromise the written quality of the content, okay? So writing a proper, accurate manuscript is mandatory, which expresses your aims, objectives very thoroughly and clearly. Flawed science is again a very, very common finding these days, because even more and more students are coming up with their research manuscripts. So there is nothing wrong in students publishing the manuscript. It is just that they should actually thoroughly screen it from experts, so that their knowledge is, being, portrayed properly, and just not for the sake of publication. So in the end, after the peer review thing happens, so does always the editors and reviewers, do they have same opinion? Do their decisions match or not? So this also depends upon, the decision-making policy of every editor. Sometimes each editor is different, okay? Sometimes an editor will reject a manuscript even if one peer reviewer rejects it. Sometimes an editor will see what is the decision of majority of reviewers, okay? And sometimes the editor will have his own opinion over the manuscript. Even if it is rejected, he will see that no, it was novel, it had something in it which matched the journal interest. So he will give a conditional rejection, as we have spoken about. wherein the author will have to revise the whole thing, resubmit it from step 1, and maybe your chances of getting published will increase. Okay. So in reality, these days, however, all the reviewers are also authors. Even they are sending articles to many journals, so they can empathize with authors to much more extent than before. So reviewers also tend to accept more manuscripts than reject these days, and this especially holds true with author recommended reviewers that we have seen. So so again, the responsibility with editor as a final filter increases. Okay, so it is again the editor's knowledge, wisdom, etc. of what to choose for publishing and what not. So reviewers and editors easily they agree on what not to publish, what is not accurate. It is deciding what is worthy of publication is a tougher challenge. So key takeaway from the first part is, although we may feel that editing is a bloody trade, we are just here to cut down the manuscripts, to cut down the work to be published, etc. But always remember that knives aren't the exclusive property of butchers. Surgeons use them too. So crafting and cutting are two different things, and editors are here for crafting your work, not cutting down your work. So second part is know what the editor wants. Okay, so how to increase your acceptance rates, how to improve your acceptance rates. While we all have spoken a lot about, rejection and what not to do, let us now see that what is a good manuscript then. Okay, what according to editor's perspective is a good manuscript? First is attractive to the readers as well as editors. That means that, the editor should have interest in reading your manuscript completely and thoroughly, because as I told you, he receives so many manuscripts, so your manuscript should stand out. It's similar to a very interesting book, that you just purchase on any other fashion street. Okay, that sometimes you get attracted by its cover page and its title and its author, etc. But when you go through the content, it is slow, so gluing that you will not, not feel like leaving the book till its end. Okay, so your manuscript should create a similar impact on the editor. Communicates its message clearly, as I have told from the first slide itself, that whatever you want to, convey, it should be very clear and precise. It should create a good impact, a positive impact, at the same time, a good understanding that you want to give. Encourages citation. This again, we have seen that it is extremely important for any journal to have more and more references and citations for its articles, for the journal's impact factor, the H indices, etc. So the basics, ABCD of submitting an article to a journal is read the author's guidelines extremely carefully, as I have told, because every house has certain rules, and if you want to reside in that house, you need to follow those rules. So similarly, every journal has got certain disciplinary rules which are formulated in the form of guidelines, and if your article wants to thrive in that journal, you need to follow the guidelines. Check the journal scope. We have already spoken about scope. Ensure you are submitting the article to a suitable journal, and make sure your article is the best version of itself. Okay, so if your article is 100% from your side, then and then only you should think of uploading it. Okay, these are wonderful guidelines that I have taken from Diabetologia 2011. These I found in the archives of this journal. They are not now seen on the journal website though, but they are beautiful. They have actually been quoted by the editor of this journal, that firstly, nothing hides bad research. Okay, so when one has to come up with a research, make sure that you do everything, you follow everything very genuinely and meticulously. Because if your data is manipulated, if you have drafted it wrongly, okay, if you have copy pasted the content, okay, if it is just a manipulated research, it will be caught. It will be straight away caught at the first filter itself, because it is a documentation. It is going to remain on paper. So that cannot be hidden from anyone. Second, a paper should have a message that you could write out in 2 or 3 sentences. This is also absolutely important, as we have seen that whatever manuscript you are giving, it should ideally have a message. You are not giving news to the society, but you are giving a message, whether your study is contributing to any treatment, any follow-up, any occurrence, prevention, what. And the message should be always a simple message that you can summarize within 2 to 3 sentences, okay? Don't bombard the audience and the editors with too many messages and conclusions. It will just create more and more confusion. Third, show your paper to colleagues. Look for criticism. This process I follow meticulously, because, this human brain, I think, is the most beautiful organ that have been designed, okay, by nature. Every human brain has got different perspectives and different expertise. So if you are very good in your science and knowledge, maybe you are weaker in the grammatical section, maybe the statistics needs to be refined. So if you take multiple opinions and multiple perspectives, that are going to definitely refine your work. And maybe with the best manuscripts also, small and silly mistakes would be, just ignored. So try to show it to as many colleagues as possible for getting inputs. The best diagrams get shown time and again in review lectures, while papers with no visual content tend to get forgotten. So that is of course applicable, and I follow it many times, that whatever your presentation of data is, make it lucrative. My review articles always have some hand-drawn illustrations, some good diagrams, some flow charts which are attractive, because visual memory is the strongest memory and the visual impact is the best impact. And then give a target to yourself that whenever you are proofreading your own article, try to always refine it by 25%, okay? So that you will come to that near perfect stage until you upload it to a journal. Other guidelines on the author's part is, editors cannot be experts in every field, as I have told you all, that they are not subject expert for every small subspecialty that is being published in that particular journal. So it is an author's job to market your product very well in front of the editor. Your product is your manuscript, and tells the editor that how your manuscript is beneficial for publication, how relevant it is, what change it can make in the current scenario, okay, so that your product sells, right? At the same time, the editors have to keep it in mind while editing that they are there to help authors express themselves clearly or more effectively. So they should not impose their own opinions over authors' opinions. They should not actually mask their ideas. They are there just to help them express their work in a more effective way. Then one should always keep it in mind that do not overpromise. That although your manuscript should have a good message, although your manuscript should convey how relevant it is, etc., but at the same time, just don't over exaggerate things. Just don't say that my cancer treatment is going to cure all the cancers, okay? Don't say that this will, if you use this drug, your disease will never recur. No, and you can just say that, this worked for us, this worked for present cases, and we can actually go for more studies. Try to be very judicious, okay, and always mention limitations of your studies. Again, as I told you, a good message is the strength of the article, and one has to actually look for a good relevant message from their research work. Then comes writing concisely. Now here again there is shift in trend among the editors, okay? At first, during first time, large manuscripts or comprehensive reviews were getting much of attention because it was editor's opinion that, more the number of pages in that particular work, more information it carries. But nowadays, looking at so much of workload every journal has, short, concise commentaries, opinions, okay, they are getting much more attention because they are less time consuming and more impactful as compared to long reviews. So if you want to really get published faster, once or twice try short communication or commentaries, okay? Watch your words. Well, this is as a writer, author, and editor, I myself look for these things. I just look for good language at times, because irrespective of how important is your work, etc., if it is shabbily written or wrongly written, it is not going to, go ahead from the review process. So language speaks standards, and therefore, as we have already seen in the first lecture, that language of science is English. Hence, one has to be thorough with the English. For this, I will suggest that, this is easily doable job. You can always hire professionals for English editing, because ultimately every author has got just one chance of, convincing his or her editors to publish the manuscript. And for silly things like grammatical errors or spelling mistakes, I think one should not lose the chance of, going ahead with that particular journal. So I would like to give you all certain English language tips, which at times I use to impress not only the editors, but many of the other people also around me. I have already been writing books, fiction, non-fiction, scientific, etc. So these are certain tips which work for me, English language tips that work for me. This is the tentative checklist that you all should see before submitting it to editor. First is the spell check. Okay, always go for spelling checking whatever softwares are there in your laptop. Second is the organization of manuscript. As I told, certain contents are to be drafted under certain sections, so you should follow that really meticulously. Consistency in writing, like whatever are your arguments, they should be in flow with each other. Don't say one thing at one time and exactly opposite thing in another paragraph. Try to maintain the flow of your thoughts. Okay, try to maintain the grammar, use punctuation at proper times, and format your manuscript perfectly before sending it. So these are the common mistakes which I find in many articles regarding English language, like use of active and passive voices. So always remember that while writing and drafting manuscript, one has to use active voice wherever possible. Okay, passive voice is a rule for methodology section, because here we have already performed, or the some more investigators also perform the study. So methodology section has got that flexibility. Parallelism. What does parallelism means? This is an example of a non-parallel sentence which is not actually accepted. Like attending a university diploma is neither cheap nor will it be easy. So here two tenses are used in a single sentence. So this is a non-parallel sentence. Instead, what one can use is attending a university diploma is neither cheap nor easy. So this is how one has to watch for tenses, verb tenses in a particular sentence. Okay. So what are verb tenses? These are the tenses that we used. For example, in method section, you have to use simple past tense. In discussion section of the study, you have to use present tense. In future implications, you have to use future tense. So try to follow these basic things wherever it is possible. When you are writing case report, the whole case thing has to be written in the past tense, because the case has already visited and things have already been performed. Okay. Coming to this most underrated thing which carries a lot of weightage in manuscript writing, that is the article usage. When to use a, when to use an, when to use the. These are very common English things which we have also learned in our high schools, but we forget to follow it now. Okay, so these are much underrated English characters which, when wrongly used, can destroy your sentence. Okay, so articles are words that define a noun, or specific or unspecific. For example, this is a chart. I hope it is visible for everyone, that this chart gives us the the knowledge that when we can use a, when we can use the. Okay, like for example, if your noun is countable, and if it is a single noun use, so at that time you can use a, and when there are multiple things in plural form, you can use the. Okay, so this chart I can send you all on your email ID. Those who are interested can let us know. Coming to general vocabulary, the general vocabulary of the manuscript shouldn't be very flowery. It shouldn't be very ornamental. It should be very precise and natural. But at times, what happens is there is lot of repetition of words in your sentences, which actually doesn't, attract people. It sounds boring after a limit. Okay. So what can be used? What can be used there? For example, instead of using study carried out, one can use study conducted or study performed. These are the better words for this verb, which is carry. Okay. So what are these? These conducted and performed are the Latin words of the verb carry. So if you want a good word for any particular verb, so try to search for its Latin roots. For example, I will just show you the graph. This is the graph that actually shows the Latin roots for any particular verb. For example, these are certain things like for speak or pray, we can use oratory. For decorate, we can use adorn. Okay. For climb, we can use ascend, descend, etc. So, key takeaway for this part is, research should be novel as well as genuine. The manuscript should express the research question accurately. The meaning of every section should be conveyed clearly. Key points should be understandable to the editors, reviewers, as well as you as authors. And it should contribute significantly to the society. In the end, I would like to say that editors are typically nobody but exceptional readers, and their vast experience can help the authors, view their research from a broader lens. Okay. Editors are not there to tell authors how good is their work. Instead, they are there to ask scrutiny questions which can define and refine the work that is, that the authors put forth. And your editor is your ally and your research paper's ally, invested in making your story work in the best way possible. So try to respect them and just try to come up with better and better research work. Thank you.
Very nice presentation, Dr. Ketki. And I really congratulate you. What Dr. Burak started, you really continued with your humor and with good inputs from grammar. That is really very appreciable, because as a reviewer also, when we review the articles, sometimes what happens, we get the article totally, the grammatical mistakes are so many that it's really, we are so much confused that let me write this article for that person, because it totally changes the context of the article. And we can't reject also outrightly like that. Yeah, so very nice. And I think everybody has appreciated, and after Dr. Burak, what he told you, and then you gave us the view of, from the author's point of view, what is the work of editors and reviewers. Now they can well understand what is the basically editors and reviewers want to tell authors. That's very good. And there are lot many questions and appreciations for you. Let me start with some questions. One of the question is can you comment on Medical and Research Journal UK? This is from Uzma, Miss Uzma.
Exactly what is the question, ma'am?
Exactly. I think she's not clear about it. She said, can you comment on Medical and Research Journal UK? I think it's not clear, but I'll go to the next question. Please tell us about how to get convinced for a journal for publication depending upon impact factor. Say a journal holding 2.7 impact factor, is it good enough?
Yes, actually, ma'am, most these impact factor thing is creating a lot of confusion these days. Okay, so I think the best journal in dentistry also has, I think the world-class journal has impact factor of say 6. So I think 2.7 is a good impact factor. What is more important is to look for, what Burak sir had just told. Category 1 journals, they are also enough, I think.
Okay. Next question is, as a peer reviewer, this from Dr. Rakhush. He says that I have been associated with many different journals. His question is, there must be a journal guideline to acknowledge them at the end of each year. What is your opinion?
Yes, for encouraging reviewers. Yeah. Actually, what I just told that, because reviewing is, not actually what to say, they are not monetarily getting benefited or something. And it is a very tedious job anyways, reviewing, as we all know. So I think journals should actually go for building up certain guidelines which are going to, benefit the reviewers in terms of their CVs or something like that, and which already many people are doing. These days, certain corporates are entering who are also rewarding the reviewers in turn. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. There is another question that as an editor, you find as an editor that many manuscripts submitted lack conflict of interest forms in initial submission.
Yeah. Yes. Initial submission, mostly the journals do have conflict of interest for authors, or from authors' point of view. But I think more important is that reviewers also should be given conflict of interest forms, ma'am, because
Yes,
it,
yes.
especially when we are following. Especially when we are going for single blind peer review thing, so maybe it may happen that the reviewer is somebody from my institution itself, or my colleague, or maybe I'm knowing him because we are working in the same specialty. So conflict of interest form should be there for reviewers more, because for authors they are there.
Yeah, Dr. Ketki, sometimes when as a reviewer we get a manuscript, we do have to declare the conflict of interest. Then only we are allowed to review also. That's there in some journals also. That's there.
Some journals do follow it.
Yes. Another question is how to judge any predatory journals. Are they misusing our research?
Yes, this has happened to me personally also, ma'am, very recently, because these journals are very, very hard to some journals, ma'am, they are showing it on their website that they are indexed with PubMed, Web of Science, etc., but they actually are not. So what the authors are, required to do is go on the Scopus website, go on the PubMed website, and there you put in the search list whether that journal is there indexed with them or no. If not, then it is a case of predatory thing. And many journals demand heavy APCs on the first step itself. They don't go for revisions and all, like Barak sir said. They don't even go for any revision. They directly demand you APC for getting published. So those are certainly predatory journals.
Yes, that's definitely there. Many journals claim that they are in PubMed and Scopus, and when you check their manuscript, it's not there. Another question is, what is the difference between PubMed Central and PubMed?
Yeah, the difference is, PubMed Central and PubMed are like the product of the same thing. Okay, so there sometimes PMC have free articles and PubMed, PubMed doesn't have them. So it is something related to free access and limited access thing.
Yeah, I think moreover PubMed has the abstracts mainly, and PubMed Central, as you said, the free articles and even paid articles. And another question is how to select the journal which to be for publishing. I think this Dr. Barak has also answered the question. How can we connect with journals of repute, especially into management domains? This is, I think.
Every field, not only healthcare, if you're going in management fields also, they also have certain indexation. Like for engineering field, they have some indexation known as IEEE. So, contact with the senior faculties in your management field. They would be best to guide you regarding what indexation do you.
Another question is that what is mean impact factor, or how many impact factor required for publication?
See, as I told you, and Barak sir also told all of us, that impact factor basically is the journal's point of view, that how many articles are, are being submitted to the journal, how many articles are cited from that journal. Okay, so that is the ratio between the article matrix that the journal has to undergo. The author basically should see to the index first. That otherwise again some predatory journals are there who will show you 101 point something impact factor, and that are not even indexed. So for authors, I feel more important thing is looking at the indexation, and then go for the impact factor if at all your work is getting accepted in those kind of journals.
Yes, absolutely. Another is that is an NLM catalog and PubMed same?
Yeah, NLM catalog, people are misusing this, ma'am. You also would be the best person to put forth that this, if they don't want to straight away say that they are in PubMed, they are using NLM catalog at that point.
Yeah, they say they are in NLM catalog, and when you check in that PubMed, and they are not there. They're just trying to misguide you.
I had tried to contact, because I run a research company, I had tried to contact these people who write NLM catalog on their websites. So what they are saying is that we are third party people, and if your article is funded by NIH, then it will come in NLM catalog. So nothing doing. The most authentic thing is go on the PubMed website, search for that journal title in their search window. If it appears, it is a PubMed thing. Don't go by any other thing.
Yes, yes. You can put this in your Google history PubMed and then immediately click on that, feed it in the search, and you should always keep it in your Google history also. And another question is that I think this, most of the young authors get confused that they say that the journal is indexed in PubMed or Scopus, but some of the papers are not indexed. What is the reason? It is definitely there with some journals. Please answer this.
Yes, ma'am. This point of view, I had tried taking a deeper dig into it, because I have already spoken to many of the publishers. So what they are saying is that their journal is indexed, but if whether their article will get indexed or no is not guaranteed. So this basically occurs in such journals which are for commercial distribution and commercial use. Those reputed journals will never ever say this, that our journal is indexed but your article will not get indexed. These two cannot be two different things in academic publishing. Of course, the journals which are coming from the commercial companies, etc., they pay for certain articles and they get those articles published. It is totally a different issue altogether. One must keep that sensible academic publishing model doesn't have all these things.
Yes. Because only some journals, as Dr. Ketki said, that some of the few topics, they are PubMed indexed, but widely we should go for the journal which is totally PubMed or Scopus, whatever the proper indexing authority. Okay. Another question is, if the paper published is not indexed in PubMed or Scopus, will it be considered in academic interviews? This is subjective, I think.
This is extremely subjective, but at the same time, if you are a student, then I think students are allowed to publish in a non-index or maybe index. Copernicus is out of question now, but like Indian citation indexes, etc. If there are certain other indexations, try with them if you are a student. So this will only increase your experience to write papers. There is nothing wrong in having few papers that are not indexed also, ma'am.
But in continuation with Dr. Ketki's answer, I think that, as he said, if you're a student, you should go for these journals, but try to make your research or review of such a standard. Both Dr. Burak and Dr. Ketki has given such a good idea to go for a publication in a PubMed or Scopus or Embase, so that it may take some time, but at least then you will have a good exposure, because even if they are rejected or a reviewer's comments are there that they are not to be published, they will guide you how to get it rewritten, how to improve your manuscript publication and how to write the manuscript. These journals do not outrightly reject like that this is not a good article. They do give you ideas, they do give you suggestions. Am I right, Dr. Ketki?
Ma'am, at times good impact factor journals or good index hi-fi journals will not give that. Many a times, especially on immediate screening, they will outright reject the manuscript, saying that it doesn't match their quality standards.
Yes.
So what I personally do is, if it is the first article and the topic is not it's just a review or something like that, I make my students write it for other good journals. Not every category 2 journal is a substandard journal. There are few which are going towards good indexing agencies and for quality content. So I make them write for such journals first, so that they will get a basic idea on what has to be written.
Actually, nowadays, Dr. Ketki, because it is very must for promotions. So that is there. That is why the people rush for that, because it has become absolutely important and compulsory for promotions.
Marks also for, I think 2 or 3 articles are allowed as per our DCI. But if you're going for NAC inspection, they specify only 4 sections. Under that only they
in NMC, what is MCA has not been called as NMC. NMC doesn't agree to that now. It has totally changed. Another question is that if my research has been submitted to a predatory journal, how to revive it? Difficult question.
This is a very big task, because even I am, not able to do that. It so happened that one of my students uploaded it to a journal who was claiming that it is, it was a journal from US publication. It was not Indian also. So he found it that it is there in PubMed, etc., and he submitted it to the journal, and they then demanded heavy APC for the article. Then I said, no, this is a predatory journal, try to withdraw the article. So the withdraw option just disappeared from their portal, and they, without we giving them APC also, they published it in their issue. So now our chance of publishing the article elsewhere also gets locked once it gets published by any journal. So now we have sent complaints. We have also sent complaint to COPE as per Rakesh sir's advice to me. Committee of Publication Ethics, we have sent complaints so that they will revive the article as soon as possible.
So better that you, once you submit before submitting the article, do your like homework or investigation
Very
properly. That's very important. Another question is your comment on UGC CARE listed journals.
Yeah, UGC CARE listed journals also, they are considered to be category 1, and in NAC these days they are asking for UGC publications more than PubMed. Also, they are giving importance to UGC because NAC is a UGC body. Okay, so I think that, but there is high chance of getting into predatory journals while you are going and submitting for UGC CARE. So again, UGC CARE, unlike PubMed, etc., have their own website. Try to take out the lists from their website. They have good number of journals. So try to take out the list and then target those journals.
Nikita ma'am, more questions are there. We should stop now because I think
Overshooting the time, exactly.
Yeah. Should we take 2 more questions? They are important. I think.
No, ma'am, we are overshooting. Let them ask in.
Okay. Please, you can share your questions to the resource persons, and we'll definitely answer. And I think Nikita ma'am will be sharing the recording on the site also.
Yes, madam. Our YouTube channel, we will share all these links, etc. And if you want to have any query, then just write on the editors.isrf@gmail.com. Dr. Bulder and Dr. Ketke madam reply on this.
Yes, I think we are at the wonderful, interesting session with Dr. Burkar and Dr. Ketke. We had very informative lectures and questions. I will stop here and again congratulate, and over to you, Dr. Anand sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am, for elaborating on the role of editor, especially in the era of Gigo, where the garbage in and garbage out is happening. Yes, now I request Dr. Savita ma'am to give a plaque of appreciation to Dr. Ketke.
Oh, this is a plaque of appreciation for Dr. Ketke for a wonderful article, wonderful query solved, very interesting. Everybody is asking for your those charts especially. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much all.
Thank you. Now we have an announcement. I request Nikita to announce the winners of peer review competition which was held. Nikita?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anand sir. We in peer review workshop, we did one competition for the best peer reviewers. So this are the James peer reviewers who had get selected for this competition, and the winners of this peer review competitions, Dr. Arun Kumar Tanwar. Dr. Arun Kumar Tanwar, Dr. Chetna Devghare, Dr. Pragnya Dhyuti Mandal sir, Dr. Vaishali Tonate, Dr. Vinuta Das. So congratulations to all of you. Thanks for participation. Yeah, and the one more announcement for the session 2, that is tomorrow, and again the best editors of ours is going to be deliver a lecture on author perspective of editorial and review process and the ethical obligation of author, and the sessions are chaired by Dr. Chandra Herath madam from Sri Lanka and Dr. Fazad Patkal sir from Iran. So, and the session should be moderated by Dr. Hanna Ranji ma'am. So, see you all tomorrow. Stay tuned. Have a great time ahead.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Yeah, Dr. Anand sir, over to you.
Yeah, thank you once again, Dr. Ketki, Dr. Sabita, Dr. Barak, and Dr. Abdul Waris. Thank you for your kind deliberations and sparing your valuable time. Thank you.